We're joined today by baseball head coach Will Sanborn. Coach, you're just about to begin your 22nd season here at the helm. 2014 season gets underway in just a couple of days, and you've had about 24 thereabouts indoor practices with this group. Let's kind of talk about how indoor sessions have gone for your team and what we can expect from this group early on.
First of all, it's been great. I felt we've had, maybe one, maybe two kind of flat practices, which isn't bad for 5 weeks in the gym. So the guys have really come ready every day to work hard and prepare. There's been a great mindset, and they seem to bring their A game every day, which is a good sign for the season. They seem to have a real focus on that day in, day out preparation.
You mentioned the word mindset. Seems to be kind of a phrase I hear a lot from your guys and your coaching staff. Talk about the team's mindset this year.
Well, that'll be important. Today, actually, that's going to be a focus here in our last indoor practice before we fly out tomorrow. I think it's so key not only to have this mindset of really focusing on the process, which we've done, I think, pretty well here in the preseason, but now going forward as we start to play games, what is our mindset going to be? There are so many kind of things that we're going to concentrate on. One is making sure that we are poised. That's going to be a big part of it. We don't ever want to get too high and too low. It is a game that we play with emotion, certainly, but maintaining your poise is a huge thing. We want these guys to be very businesslike, very focused on what they're doing, and just become ready to compete on every pitch, every day, and not to let things get ahead of them and start thinking too much about wins and losses and statistics and some of those things that can become distractions. And we've talked a lot about having a kind of a turn-the-page mindset. It's a little bit of a cliche, but it's so true in baseball. You've got to be able to put things behind you and focus on what's coming and not get distracted by what's in the rearview mirror. So.
Well, speaking of the rearview mirror, kind of the nature of college sports, every year you graduate a class. And last year was a good class. You had some very good players, and just about every year that's the case. How do you cultivate that mindset but not looking back? I mean, this program has been so successful, all these NCAA tournament appearances, all these GNAC championships. How do you get returners and new guys alike to just kind of, let's look forward, we're not going to think about what we did in past years?
I think the biggest thing is just to model it and make sure that the coaching staff buys into it, the leaders, the captains on the team buy into it, and just never to get looking backwards or too far ahead for that matter. But I think it's just a culture in our program that once that past season is over, you got to really focus and work on the next one, or this game will bite you. So.
Well, this team seems to be prepared in at least what we've seen around this building, prepared in just about every manner that you can think of. Talk a little bit about these classroom sessions that the team has had this year. It's something that you focused on more, it seems like, and it's all sorts of different topics and things like that going on. Yeah,
there were some areas coming out of last season that I thought I wanted to improve on with our ball club, and we've put some real focus and energy on those things. One of them is to take a look at our level of commitment. And we've put a ton of time into something called the commitment continuum, where we take a look at ourselves both individually and as teammates, and take a look at the sacrifices that we're willing to make, the commitment we have on and off the field, in the weight room, in the classroom, to developing ourselves as student athletes and as players. And I think that is going to bear a lot of fruit, and you can just start to have more and more guys on your team that are more and more committed and compelled and driven type of athletes, then I think that's a culture that can only help your program. And then we've also spent a lot of time on, oddly enough, health and wellness issues. This is one of the things that the guys determined when we got back for second semester in our initial team meetings. They didn't want to hear about, drugs and alcohol and things not to do and rules and and those types of things. What they wanted to do is learn more about things that could help them to become better athletes. So we've taken a real look at nutrition and sleep in particular as a couple of things that we've focused on to try to help ourselves perform better.
Cool. Seems like these guys have definitely bought in. The team has a different look this year. Obviously, we talked about some very good players have left, graduated. 14 freshmen, and some new skilled players coming in. Just talk about how that group has acclimated to the college scene here. Obviously, we haven't played a game yet, but still, it's a program that's a fine-tuned machine. How have they acclimated themselves?
Well, I think one of the things is you don't look at them as first-year players. You know, in one sense, everybody's a first-year player because this is a new year for everybody. You know, and obviously these guys are new to college baseball. They're new to our program. They are first-year guys, but I think if you sort of set that aside, now we've all got to go out and compete. And I think the leadership we've gotten from the upperclassmen has really been key for the younger guys because they've just all kind of melded together. They're a really close team. You know, one of their goals is to have a kind of a brotherhood atmosphere on the team, and I think they've gone a long way towards achieving that. And everybody just, you know, has worked really hard and bought into our preparation and our process. And now we get to try to go out and have the game teach us a few lessons, which it always does. So.
And that chemistry pitch isn't a difficult one to sell considering what happened with the Red Sox just recently, and everybody knows it.
Some of those things are easy to point to.
Right. No, exactly. Coach, talk about this year, always taking a spring trip. For years and years, taking a spring trip down south to Florida typically. This year taking a second smaller trip before the 9-10 game set that you've traditionally taken. Talk about the reasons why we're doing this year and maybe some benefits you might receive from doing this.
Sure. Well, a lot of teams have begun to stretch their schedule, and I really felt the need for that after last season. I look back at it, and we had 28 games in the month of April last year, and that really wore on our guys. It makes it tougher and tougher for them academically, and it makes it tough for them to perform on a consistent basis. A lot of teams have been starting to travel to New York or New Jersey on that weekend prior to the spring trips. And I started to look at that, and typically those teams will get a game or two in down there, but the weather is just as iffy in those areas as it is up here in New England sometimes. So then we began to explore the idea of going to Florida twice. And I really like what this is doing for our guys academically because it's taking 4 games out of April and it's putting them here in early March. 3 of those 4 games are weekend dates. And the other thing it's going to do is really keep the schedule from getting backed up in April when they might have, we might have a game on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and that's a class that could be impacted, and a kid could be impacted for an entire week of the class. So it's really helping us to spread things out that way. And, of course, going to Florida has always been a highlight. It's something that's very important for New England schools, certainly, to be able to travel and beat the weather. So we're excited about it.
No, it definitely should be a good thing, especially to break up that indoor time a little bit, too. I'm sure the guys are excited to get going. Every year it seems like, and they've carried over certainly from year to year, but there's always acronyms that come out of the dugout, productive plate appearances, PPAs, mantras, things like that kind of people might hear standing in the crowd and be like, what the heck does that mean? Is there anything this year that has been a major focus that falls into that category?
I don't know if there's anything new. There probably are some new things that might not be coming to mind right now, but I think this focus that we have with our hitters on productive plate appearances is really important because it takes the focus off their batting average, it takes the focus off getting a hit, and it puts the focus on them doing something with their at-bat that can help the team. So we define a productive plate appearance as obviously a hit, a walk, if you put the ball in play and somebody makes an error, a hit by pitch, you advance a runner with an out. So those types of things, you start to have guys feeling good about themselves at the plate, even though they might not have gotten a hit. And I think it really helps our approach. It really turns it into a team approach and an unselfish approach, which is really part of our game plan. So that's a big thing for us. We've just really been working hard. I would say the other piece is just focusing on the process and not, getting ahead of ourselves as you sometimes can in this game. So.
Now, one thing, it's kind of a blanket question, and we ask it every year. What can you expect, or what can we expect that this team's identity to maybe become? What are some strengths of this team? It's kind of a blanket question, like I said, but what do you look for from this group this year?
Well, I think that's one of those types of questions that I'm not really allowing my players to answer. Because I think it just creates speculation. It's just talk. It's noise in the background. It creates expectations that may or may not come. So I think for us, the real expectation is that we're going to show up every day and compete like heck to win a ball game. And that is going to involve doing a lot of little things well. It's going to involve being very fundamentally sound. It's going to involve playing hard and being able to execute. So those are the things I think you can expect our team to do. And really, I think it looks to be a pretty balanced approach. I don't think this is a team that is, dominated by great pitching but doesn't have a good lineup or great hitters but can't pitch. I don't think it's any of that. I think it's a pretty well balanced team. And we'll just try to keep the focus where it needs to be on doing the little things right.
That makes a lot of sense. And this year, hosting the GNAC tournament at Larry Mahaney Diamond, which is always a great thing, and it's a good event to have here on campus. And it's it's maybe even the only one other than individual sports for the conference where you know the championship where it's going to be before it's played. It's not a highest seed kind of thing. Kind of talk about that. I know guys, that's on their calendar a little bit, and I know haven't played a game yet, and you just hope to be in the tournament. Right. But talk about the excitement of having that on campus.
Well, again, it is one of those things where we are hosting it, and we hope to be in it, first of all. And that's certainly, not anything that's a given. When you host it, you take on a certain responsibility to put on a good tournament where, kind of all the bases are covered, and you're a good host, and everything is, well provided for the teams that are in it, and it's a well-organized event. So that'll be a focus of the athletic department this spring, not just the baseball program, but the athletic department, and doing a good job hosting it. It is a great thing if you can host your tournament and be involved in it, because it really helps you to build your following on campus. It makes it so much easier for students to come and watch you play. It creates a great atmosphere if you can be involved in that. And it's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of pride in it when you can, you can try to win it at your own place. So it's definitely something that we're looking forward to. Although we know we got to take it a day at a time and make sure we get there first.
Last question here, Coach. 22nd year, is that a number that kind of is like, wow, does it sink in? It's been a lengthy career, Coach, and it's a very successful one. What are some things that's the question I always like to ask a coach. What are some things that you've learned over the years, maybe even from last year to this year, or from early on in your career to today? I know it's a learning process, and people maybe don't realize that. Yeah,
it's I think when it stops becoming a learning process, that's probably when you're in trouble. And I don't spend a lot of time thinking about the past. It's probably been a longer amount of time for my players than it has been for me, because they've had to play for me. But
only 4 years apiece.
But I think to me, that's the key, is it's still fun, it's still something I really enjoy, and it's still something I don't think that I've at all begun to figure out yet. And I think that's a healthy attitude about it, and that's probably why I've been able to do it for so long. And I think the older you get, I think the more of a long-term approach you take and a more of a big picture approach. And I think that helps too, to be able to put some perspective on things and realize what's important with the development of your student athletes, and how important it is to just focus on the process, let the winning and losing and years and number of wins and all that stuff take care of itself. Just try to do a good job every day, and that's kind of the way life works. So that's what we try to continue to do, and to bring new stuff to it every year is really important to me, so that these guys don't look at me. I think the longer this goes, the more and more I look like their dads. And then eventually I'll start to look like their grandfathers, which will be scary. But I think you've got to keep it new and fresh and exciting for the guys, and not do the same things every year, so that it's still something that's challenging and fresh and new. So those are my thoughts on that. So.
Great. Well, I lied. Last question. Friday, Concordia out of Moorhead, Minnesota. They've played some games. Hopefully you get a practice that morning, or you get some on-field hitting. Going outside for the first time, what do you think that's going to look like?
It's still an incredibly exciting thing for baseball players. I don't know if other people can quite understand it, but when you step on a field and the grass is green, the sun's out, and you get to play baseball, it's just an amazing feeling. And I think we'll just take it a game at a time and enjoy every minute of it. I mean, that's what this process stuff is all about, is really kind of enjoying the ride and not necessarily focusing on the end of the ride. So that's what we hope to do. I think the guys will be jacked up. My role that day will be to, quite frankly, to calm them down, and have them play with some poise and some confidence, and not be all nerved up. So.
All right. Well, Coach, thanks for your time, and good luck this weekend and this season.
Thank you.